You ever wonder how a group that gave us Candy Girl and Mr. Telephone Man ended up in fistfights, drug scandals, and gunshots on tour? Because New Edition wasn't just a boy band. They were a ticking time bomb wrapped in glittery jackets and smooth harmonies. Behind the scenes, Bobby Brown was getting high and throwing microphones. Ricky Bell was quietly spiraling into addiction. And Johnny Gill? He spent years fighting off gay rumors so persistent he had to take a lie detector test on camera. And just when fans thought things couldn't get worse, the group's big reunion tour ended in chaos. Fists were flying, and yes, shots were fired. People literally ran for their lives at an R&B concert. But here's the twist. Through all the breakups, betrayals, overdoses, tax evasion, and tabloid madness, they just kept getting back together. Why? Was it brotherhood, legacy, or was it just about money? Either way, the clean-cut image was a lie. And the truth? Way messier than anyone ever told you. Let's be real. If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, you probably thought New Edition was squeaky clean. The matching outfits? The choreo? The Jackson 5 comparisons? Yeah, they were marketed like a mom-approved R&B machine. And for a while, that image worked. They were the poster boys of black excellence for a generation of teens. No saggy jeans, no curse words, no criminal records, just harmonies and heartbreak songs. The media ran with it. BT crowned them kings, and parents actually liked their kids listening to them. But let's talk about why that image existed in the first place. Because the truth is, they had to fake it to make it. Black boy groups in the early 80s didn't get a pass to be edgy or controversial. If they wanted airplay, they had to play the game. And that game was perfection. Shiny suits, polite smiles. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. Maurice Starr, the man who helped create New Edition, knew this. He saw the success of the Jacksons and tried to duplicate it, but cleaner, safer, more mainstream. Which really meant, don't scare the white moms in suburbia. So, New Edition leaned into the lie. They smiled, danced, stayed in line, and let their label slap a PG-rated sticker on their careers. But behind the scenes, it was anything but wholesome. There were fights over money, screaming matches in hotel lobbies, members getting voted out like it was Survivor, R&B edition. And nobody wanted you to know. The crazy part? That clean image was so strong, even when the chaos leaked out, fans still didn't believe it. Bobby Brown wilding out on tour? Oh, he's just young and misunderstood. Ricky Bell nearly dying from addiction? No way. Not him. That's the thing about polished images. They don't just protect the group, they protect the lie. But here's where it gets messy. While fans were buying concert tickets and singing along to Cool It Now, the group was secretly falling apart, one scandal at a time. And the first crack in the perfect image? Bobby Brown. Let's not sugarcoat it. Bobby Brown was a walking headline. While the rest of New Edition was trying to be choir boys with microphones, Bobby was out here acting like R&B's answer to Dennis Rodman. Unpredictable, loud, and always one blunt away from blowing everything up. At first, he was just a little wild, adding sexy dance moves, going off script during shows, side-eyeing the group's bubblegum image. But it didn't stop there. Bobby started skipping rehearsals, missing flights, showing up high, performing like he was on a BET Uncut special, not a family-friendly stage. And let's talk about the infamous mic toss. During a show in 1985, Bobby got so fed up he threw a microphone at Michael Bivins, on stage, in front of fans. By then, everyone in the group knew this wasn't gonna work. Bobby wasn't just growing up, he was growing out of the group, fast. He wanted to be edgy, raw, sexy. He didn't want to be a poster child. He wanted to be a damn rock star. And to be honest, he had the talent and the ego to pull it off. So what did the group do? They held a vote, and Bobby Brown was officially kicked out of New Edition. Let that sink in. They didn't ask him to leave. They voted him out, like this was Real Housewives, R&B edition. Bobby later said, "Thank God I got kicked out." And you know what? He meant it. Because once he was free, he became a whole problem. A chart-topping, multi-platinum bad boy problem. My prerogative. Don't be cruel. Every little step. He went full solo savage and ate the industry up. Meanwhile, New Edition had to scramble. They replaced him with Johnny Gill, tried to keep the ship afloat, and watched Bobby dominate R&B from the sidelines. But here's where the story twists again. Years later, Bobby comes back for the Home Again tour. And surprise, he's even more chaotic than before. He's partying too hard, showing up late, refusing to leave the stage, and starting fights with the same dudes who once voted him out. One night, Ronnie Devoe tries to pull him off stage. Bobby drops the mic and swings on him. Yes, a full-on fight mid-show. And if that wasn't enough, gunshots were heard. Let me repeat that. Gunshots at a New Edition concert. Security had to jump in, fans scattered, and the tour. It started falling apart faster than Bobby's marriage to Whitney, which, yeah, we need to talk about that mess too. But first, it wasn't just Bobby who had issues with the spotlight, because while he was fighting bandmates and making headlines, another member was battling a demon nobody saw coming. If Bobby Brown was the loud public chaos of New Edition, Ricky Bell was the silent storm. To fans, Ricky was the quiet one, the smooth guy, the safe one. No scandals, no headlines, no reality show drama, just vocals, harmonies, and that signature smile. But behind that calm image, Ricky was fighting a drug addiction so dark it nearly killed him. And the wildest part? Nobody had a clue. While Bobby was getting dragged by tabloids and showing up to interviews half-baked, Ricky was secretly spiraling. Quietly, privately, destructively. He hid it so well that even his bandmates didn't know how bad it was, until he almost didn't make it. It started simple. Weed, a little alcohol. Then came ecstasy, introduced by his future wife. And from there, the floodgates opened. Cocaine, oxy, anything to numb the pressure of fame and the weight of a double life. This man went from platinum records to selling his own timberlands, designer, autographed, one of a kind, just to afford his next hit. Let that sink in. Ricky Bell, a multi-million-dollar artist, was pawning his shoes. He lost everything. His money, his home, his peace of mind. The addiction got so bad that one night his wife found him unconscious in the bathroom from an overdose. And even then, fans had no idea. It wasn't until 2017, when the New Edition story dropped on BET, that the truth came out. The public watched, jaws dropped, as Ricky's secret finally unraveled on screen. And just like that, the perfect one became the one who almost didn't survive. Unlike Bobby, Ricky's struggle wasn't front-page news. It was a private hell, and that made it even more dangerous. He said it took him 16 years of on and off rehab, relapsing, crawling out, and falling again, before he finally got clean. His words: "I shared my closely guarded story of pain and addiction for the sole purpose of gifting hope and inspiration to those who may be suffering as I once did." These days, Ricky's sober, married, and openly talking about his journey. But don't let the happy ending fool you. His addiction was so intense, it could have been another Whitney situation. And speaking of Whitney, Bobby may have been kicked out of the group, but his relationship with Whitney Houston became the tabloid circus that put everything on blast. And that leads us into the next layer of mess. If Bobby Brown was chaos, Whitney Houston was the amplifier. When the two got together, it was like pairing gasoline with a lit cigarette. You knew it was going to blow. The only question was how bad. At first, the public tried to eat it up. America's Princess of Pop meets R&B's bad boy, tabloid gold. But it didn't take long before the headlines turned ugly. Arguments, drugs, arrests. A reality show so unfiltered, people were genuinely disturbed. Being Bobby Brown aired in 2005, and let's just say, if you wanted to ruin your legacy in 30 minutes or less, that show was a masterclass. Viewers tuned in expecting playful drama. What they got was dysfunction, slurred words, and a front row seat to what addiction looks like in real time. Whitney was once the voice of a generation, but on Being Bobby Brown, she became a meme, a punchline, a crack is whack gif on Twitter. And Bobby? He became the villain. But here's where things get even murkier. For years, people blamed Bobby for corrupting Whitney, like he dragged her into the drug world and wrecked her career. But Bobby wasn't having it. He said, "We did drugs together. I didn't introduce her to anything. She already knew what she knew." That quote, it hit like a bomb. Suddenly, the entire narrative flipped. Maybe Bobby wasn't the bad influence. Maybe they were just bad for each other. Either way, it ended tragically. Whitney Houston was found unresponsive in a hotel bathtub in 2012. Her cause of death? Accidental drowning, with drugs in her system. 3 years later, their daughter Bobby Christina died under eerily similar circumstances, and guess who the world pointed fingers at? Bobby Brown. Whether it was fair or not, the public treated him like he was cursed, like he brought death to everyone he touched. Fans said he didn't protect Whitney, that he enabled her, that he failed as a father. But in reality, Bobby was just as broken. He was grieving 2 deaths, managing his own addiction battles, and still trying to hold himself together enough to get on stage. And New Edition, they still brought him back, because even after the headlines, the heartbreak, the years of dysfunction, he was part of the brand. But the Bobby Whitney tragedy wasn't just a personal downfall. It tainted the New Edition name. Suddenly, they weren't the clean-cut boy band anymore. They were the group with the body count. And while Bobby's mess was out in the open, the rest of the group had their own shady business going on, especially when it came to money. Because guess what? The real drama was in the bank accounts. If you ever wondered how to destroy a multi-million-dollar reunion in record time, just study New Edition's Home Again tour. Because this wasn't just a comeback, it was a full-blown disaster dressed up as nostalgia. Let's rewind. In 1996, all 6 original members, yes, even Bobby, reunited for a brand new album. Home Again dropped, went number 1, won, and sold over 2 million copies. The fans were hype. The industry was watching, and the stage was set for one of the biggest R&B reunion tours of the decade. But instead of history being made, history fell apart. From the jump, the red flags were waving. Every member had their own tour bus, packed with entourages like they were rap stars. 10, 15, sometimes 20 people deep, weed carriers, old friends, hanger-ons. It was a mobile circus. Johnny Gill and Ricky Bell, they kept it low-key, maybe 2, 3 people tops. But the others, it was like they were running a club out of a moving vehicle. And then came Bobby, still showing up late, still refusing to follow the set list, still trying to steal the spotlight. During one show, Bobby stayed on stage way too long. Ronnie Devoe tried to pull him off. Bad move. Bobby dropped the mic and swung on Ronnie. Yes, a literal fight broke out on stage, in the middle of a concert, with fans watching. But hold up, it gets worse. Gunshots. Yep, gunshots were heard backstage. Nobody got hit, thank God. But chaos broke out. Fans were screaming. Security was scrambling. Johnny Gill straight up ran the moment someone yelled gun. He didn't wait, didn't look back, just dipped. All I had to hear was gun, and I was gone, he said later. That was it. It was supposed to be a night of celebration. It turned into a crime scene, and after that, the tour imploded. Bobby and Michael Bivins quit, walked off, packed up and left. That left just Johnny, Ricky, Ronnie, and Ralph to finish what was supposed to be the ultimate New Edition comeback. But it didn't feel like a reunion anymore. It felt like survival. And here's the kicker. That whole mess, it cost them. Financially, they got destroyed. Canceled shows, lawsuits, broken contracts. Johnny said it plain. We lost money. We went into debt. It was supposed to be a victory tour. It turned into a financial nightmare. Some members were already behind on taxes. After the tour, it got worse. Johnny said he looked around and realized, I was the only one who showed up to every show. Everyone else missed shows, partied too hard, tapped out. Johnny, he kept it moving. He showed up, even when things were falling apart. But the money didn't lie. Even after platinum records and sold-out arenas, New Edition was broke. Like, where did the money go? Broke. And the truth was, this wasn't the first time they got screwed financially, because years before, they'd already learned the music industry could rob you blind and do it with a smile. You would think that a group with hit records, sold-out tours, and a platinum plaque or two would be swimming in cash, right? Wrong. Try $1.87. That's not a typo. That's the actual check each member of New Edition received after their very first national tour, while the label raked in millions. Let's paint the picture. They're teens, fresh off the Candy Girl wave, audiences screaming their names, performing night after night, killing it. They're thinking they're about to be the next Jackson 5, financially and musically. And when they finish the tour, they line up expecting a check with some real zeros on it. Instead, $187 damn dollars. That's not even rent in most cities. It barely covers a pair of Jordans. Ralph Tresvant said he thought it was a joke. Ricky Bell said he was so naive, he literally couldn't process it. He just stood there, holding the check, confused, like, wait, is this per diem? Nope. That was their cut. For months of work. For being away from home. For making someone else filthy rich. And who was making that money? The managers. The labels. The adults who smiled in their faces and robbed them blind. This was the music industry's favorite trick. Throw a shiny contract at some kids, promise them fame, and bury the fine print so deep they don't realize they're broke until it's too late. And this wasn't just an oops moment. This was strategic. The group later found out they were locked into contracts that gave everyone else ownership, except them. Ricky, now in his 50s, said that trust fund money was supposed to be set aside for the group. Never happened. Court documents showed the contracts were supposed to protect them, but instead, they were designed to exploit them. Even decades later, Ronnie Devoe revealed on The Breakfast Club that they still didn't fully own their masters, not until they were in their late 50s. Let that sink in. The voices behind Cool It Now, Mr. Telephone Man, Can You Stand the Rain, didn't own a single damn thing for over 30 years. And the worst part? They weren't alone. TLC, Tony. This was the industry blueprint. Use young black artists, squeeze out every dime, then toss them aside when they start asking questions. But in New Edition's case, the betrayal didn't just come from execs in suits. It started spilling over into the group itself. Because once you get burned that bad, trust becomes a luxury. And when there's no trust, that's when the real backstabbing begins. If you thought money was the only thing tearing New Edition apart, think again, because once the cameras came out, all hell broke loose. By the 2000s, reality TV was the new fame drug, and some of the New Edition members wanted a hit. Ronnie Devoe and his wife Shamari joined the Real Housewives of Atlanta spin-off scene, and let's just say the fans were not feeling it. What was supposed to be a fun little couple moment turned into a PR nightmare. People online dragged Ronnie for clout chasing and accused him of turning New Edition's legacy into a punchline. Some fans even said he was helping break the group apart, especially when he launched a side group, RBRM, with Bobby Brown and Ricky Bell, and left out Ralph Tresvant and Johnny Gill completely. That move? Yeah, it split the fandom in half. Team RBRM said, they're just keeping the music alive. Team Original NE said, this is betrayal in a glittery jacket. Meanwhile, Ralph was dodging rumors about why he kept disappearing from group events. Some whispered he was dealing with substance abuse. Others blamed his messy divorce. But either way, he stopped showing up, and people noticed. Fans started saying he was the new Bobby, unreliable, absent, and emotionally checked out. Then there's Johnny Gill. He may have been the group's vocal powerhouse, but for years, he was also fighting off gay rumors so intense they basically became part of his Wikipedia page. And what triggered it? His friendship with Eddie Murphy. That's right. Two black men being close was enough for tabloids to start printing wild stories. Never mind the fact that Johnny dated women, had a son, and publicly denied it for decades. The rumors stuck, so much so that Johnny voluntarily took a lie detector test just to shut the world up. Let that sink in. He had to take a lie detector test to prove he wasn't gay. Not because there's anything wrong with being gay, but because the rumors were being used to ruin his name, damage his brand, and turn fans against him. And through it all, the group just kept crumbling, side projects, missed shows, secret resentment. It wasn't about brotherhood anymore. It was about self-preservation. What started as 5 kids from Boston with a dream turned into 6 grown men low-key at war over money, attention, control, and credit. The reality shows just exposed what was already happening behind the scenes. The Brotherhood was broken, and no one wanted to say it out loud. And somehow, they're still standing. In fact, in 2025, New Edition announced their Las Vegas residency, a full-circle moment for a group that was once broke, broken, and barely speaking. The same men who once got paid $1.87 for a whole tour are now headlining in the entertainment capital of the world, commanding 6-figure checks per night, spotlight, and all. But even that moment, as celebratory as it is, still carries a shadow, because for some fans, the residency isn't just a victory. It's a reminder of how long it took for New Edition to get what they were always owed. No label, no manager, no drama-filled reunion show, just them, owning their name, running their legacy. So, yeah, New Edition made it to Vegas. But trust and believe, they earned every damn minute of it. So, what do you do with a legacy this messy? On one hand, New Edition changed music. They opened the door for Boys II Men, NSYNC, B2K, New Kids on the Block, literally invented the blueprint for modern boy bands. The vocals, impeccable. The style, iconic. The choreography, untouchable. But on the other hand, they were a walking cautionary tale. Addiction, greed, broken contracts, gunfire, lawsuits, betrayal. They had every tool to build an empire and still ended up watching other people cash in on their legacy. And the most tragic part, they never fully healed. Every reunion tour was a bandage on an open wound. Every documentary, every reality show, every BT special, just another attempt to make peace with the fact that they were robbed. Robbed of their money, robbed of their youth, robbed of the chance to enjoy the ride without surviving it. Johnny Gill still has to defend his identity. Ricky Bell still lives with the trauma of addiction. Bobby Brown still carries the guilt of 2 unimaginable losses. And the rest of the group? Still trying to balance forgiveness with resentment. As of today, yes, they're still performing. Yes, they've reunited again. Yes, they're getting their flowers now. But the truth is, the damage was already done. The industry didn't just try to erase New Edition, it tried to own them, and in some ways, it did. So what will they be remembered for? The hits? Absolutely. But also the heartbreak, the scandals, the stories that should have ended in triumph, but instead became survival sagas. Because New Edition wasn't just a band, they were a mirror of what the music industry does to Black artists when they're young, hungry, and too trusting. A mirror of how fame can destroy friendships, and a mirror of how brotherhood, real or not, can't fix everything. So next time you hear, "Can You Stand the Rain?" remember, they recorded that song while the storm was already happening, and somehow they're still standing.